The year was 1536, and the city of Geneva was on the brink of chaos. Fires raged through the narrow streets, and the air was thick with the smell of burning wood and panic. People ran through the streets, their faces twisted with fear, as the city's leaders struggled to maintain order. Amid the chaos, a young man named John Calvin stood at the city gates, his eyes fixed on the horizon. He knew that this moment would change everything. Calvin was not just a man. He was a revolutionary. Born in France, he had fled to Geneva to escape the persecution of the Catholic Church. Now, he was determined to transform this city into a model of religious and social reform. His ideas, which would later be known as Calvinism, were radical and far-reaching. They challenged the authority of the Church, the structure of society, and even the nature of God. As the fires raged, Calvin began to preach. His words were powerful and uncompromising. He spoke of a God who was sovereign over all things, a God who had a plan for every person, and a God who demanded absolute obedience. He called for the city to be governed by the principles of the Bible, and for the people to live lives of holiness and purity. The people of Geneva were divided. Some were inspired by Calvin's vision and joined him in his mission. Others were afraid of the changes he proposed and resisted him at every turn. The city was a powder keg, ready to explode at any moment. Despite the opposition, Calvin's ideas began to take root. He established a system of church governance that emphasized the role of elders and deacons, and he implemented strict moral codes to ensure that the city remained true to its new faith. He also founded the Geneva Academy, a school that would educate future leaders and spread his ideas far and wide. As the years passed, Geneva became a beacon of reform. People from all over Europe came to see what was happening in this small city. They were amazed by the transformation they witnessed. The city was no longer a place of chaos and fear. It was a place of order and purpose. But the story of Calvin and Geneva was just the beginning. The ideas that he introduced would spread across Europe and beyond, shaping the course of history in ways that no one could have predicted. From the battles of the Reformation to the spread of Calvinism around the world, the legacy of this young man and his ideas would be felt for centuries to come. In the next chapter, we will explore how Calvin's ideas spread to other parts of Europe, and how they influenced the lives of people in countries like Scotland, the Netherlands, and England. We will see how these ideas shaped the way people thought about God, society, and their place in the world. And we will discover the surprising ways in which Calvinism has continued to evolve and adapt to the changing times. But for now, let's stay in Geneva, where the fires are still burning and the future is uncertain. This is where the story of Calvinism begins. The spread of Presbyterianism and its impact on various parts of the world is a fascinating story. Let's dive into how this faith traveled and transformed different regions. In the early days, Presbyterianism was a movement that emerged from the Reformation in Europe. It began in Switzerland and Scotland, where leaders like John Calvin and John Knox advocated for a church governed by elders, presbyters, rather than bishops. This new form of church governance quickly gained followers and began to spread beyond its European roots. One of the first significant expansions of Presbyterianism was to the New World, particularly to the British colonies in North America. The Pilgrims who landed at Plymouth in 1620 were influenced by Calvinist ideas, and their community was organized around principles of self-governance and religious freedom. As more settlers arrived, Presbyterian churches began to take root, especially in New England. The Massachusetts Bay Colony, for example, became a stronghold of Puritan and Presbyterian beliefs. These early settlers were deeply committed to their faith and often held strict views on morality and church discipline. Presbyterianism also found a home in the middle colonies, such as New York and Pennsylvania. In New York, the Dutch Reformed Church, which had strong Calvinist roots, played a significant role. In Pennsylvania, the Quakers and other religious groups, including Presbyterians, enjoyed a degree of religious freedom under the leadership of William Penn. This environment allowed Presbyterianism to flourish and grow. As the American colonies expanded westward, Presbyterianism followed. The Scots-Irish, who migrated to the Appalachian region, brought their Presbyterian traditions with them. These communities were often self-sufficient and deeply religious, and they established churches and schools to preserve their faith and educate their children. The Presbyterian Church in the United States was officially organized in 1789, and it quickly became one of the largest and most influential denominations in the country. Meanwhile, Presbyterianism was also making its way to other parts of the world. In the Netherlands, the Reformed Church had a strong presence, and Dutch colonists carried their faith to places like South Africa, Indonesia, and the Moluccas. The Dutch East India Company, which established trading posts and colonies, often included missionaries among its personnel. These missionaries worked to convert local populations to Christianity, and Presbyterianism became a significant force in these regions. In South Africa, the Dutch Reformed Church played a crucial role in the early colonial period. As the colony grew, so did the influence of Presbyterianism. Scottish missionaries, such as David Livingstone, also contributed to the spread of the faith in Africa. By the 19th century, Presbyterian churches were established in various parts of the continent, including Kenya and Nigeria. In Asia, Presbyterianism found a foothold in countries like India, Japan, and Korea. In India, the London Missionary Society and other organizations sent missionaries to spread the gospel. These efforts often faced significant challenges, including resistance from local religious leaders and cultural barriers. Despite these obstacles, Presbyterian churches were established in several regions, and they continue to play a role in Indian society today. In Japan, the Meiji Restoration in the late 19th century opened the country to Western influences, including Christianity. Presbyterian missionaries such as James Curtis Hepburn worked to establish churches and schools. The Japanese Empire later imposed restrictions on religious freedom, but Presbyterianism continued to grow and adapt to the local context. Korea, too, saw a significant Presbyterian presence. American and Scottish missionaries such as Horace Grant, Underwood, and John Ross played key roles in introducing the faith. The Presbyterian Church in Korea became one of the largest and most influential denominations in the country, and it played a significant role in the nation's modernization and democratization. The spread of Presbyterianism was not without its challenges. In many places, it faced opposition from established religious and political authorities. In France, for example, the Huguenots, who were Calvinist Protestants, faced persecution and had to flee the country in large numbers. In England, the Puritans and Presbyterians were often at odds with the Anglican Church and the monarchy, leading to periods of conflict and repression. Despite these challenges, Presbyterianism continued to grow and adapt. In the 19th and 20th centuries, the faith faced new challenges from modernism and secularism. The rise of liberal theology and the social gospel movement within some Presbyterian denominations led to significant internal debates and divisions. Some Presbyterians, such as J. Gresham Machen, argued for a return to traditional Calvinist beliefs and practices, while others embraced more progressive and inclusive approaches. The global spread of Presbyterianism also led to the development of new forms of the faith. In many countries, local leaders and communities adapted Presbyterian teachings to fit their cultural and social contexts. This process of indigenization helped to ensure the survival and growth of the faith in diverse regions. Today, Presbyterianism is a global faith with a rich and diverse history. From its roots in the Reformation to its spread across continents, it has played a significant role in shaping communities and societies around the world. Whether in the United States, South Africa, India, or Korea, Presbyterian churches continue to be centers of worship, education, and social action, carrying forward the legacy of their founders and adapting to the changing needs of their communities. As we close this journey through the history and ideas of Calvinism, we've seen how this faith has shaped the lives of millions around the world. From its early beginnings in the small city of Geneva to its spread across Europe and beyond, Calvinism has left a profound impact on both individuals and societies. We started with John Calvin himself, a man who transformed a small Swiss town into a center of religious and social reform. His ideas about God's sovereignty, the authority of the Bible, and the need for a reformed church spread quickly, inspiring reformers and thinkers across Europe. We saw how these ideas took root in places like Scotland, the Netherlands, and England, where they influenced everything from government to education. In the New World, Calvinism played a crucial role in the founding of colonies and the shaping of early American society. Figures like John Winthrop and Roger Williams brought their beliefs to the shores of North America, laying the groundwork for a nation that would later be known for its religious freedom and democratic ideals. But Calvinism didn't just stay in the past. It continued to evolve and adapt, facing challenges and controversies along the way. From the debates over strict subscription to the rise of the student volunteer movement, Calvinists have always been engaged in the world around them. They've founded schools, universities, and seminaries, and they've been at the forefront of social and political movements, from the abolition of slavery to the civil rights movement. In the modern era, Calvinism has continued to thrive, even as the world has changed dramatically. It has found new homes in places like Korea, Africa, and Latin America, where it has resonated with people seeking a deep and meaningful faith. Today, the World Alliance of Reformed Churches and the World Council of Reformed Communions bring together Calvinists from all over the globe, showing that this faith is as relevant today as it was in the 16th century. As we look to the future, the story of Calvinism reminds us that faith is not just about beliefs, but about how those beliefs shape our lives and our world. It shows us that even in the face of challenges and changes, a strong and living faith can endure and grow. Whether you are a long-time follower of Calvinism or just beginning to explore its teachings, this journey through its history and ideas offers a rich and inspiring legacy to reflect on. So, as we close this book, let's remember that the story of Calvinism is not just a story of the past. It is a living tradition that continues to shape the lives of people today, offering hope, guidance, and a deep sense of purpose.